You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ben Simmons, am I right?
Will you get out?
He's not wrong. I mean,
I know. Welcome
let's do
back.
this.
Another episode of Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks. This is the miserable episode edition.
This is just my weekly therapist session.
Yeah. So by the time this is up, it'll be Wednesday, June 23rd.
Oh, just in time for the game one of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh, game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. Let's see who's playing in that. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks. What a fucking joke the Philadelphia 76ers are. And going into this season, and we talked before this episode started recording that we were gonna wait till the end of talk scissors, but we're getting right into it. We said collectively every slightly intelligent Sixers fan felt if they didn't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, this season was a wash. It was a fail. And lo and behold, Game 7 took them 7 games to play the Atlanta Hawks, and they just Game 7 was just a mix of they just looked defeated. They looked tired, like they didn't really want it. And I'm not Joel's one thing. I'll give him his props. He scored over I think in almost every game he scored over 30 points with a fucking torn meniscus. And he played well. Had a couple, poor shots here and there, but for the most part, he played like Joel Embiid. And even, honestly, I was more impressed with him defensively. He was able to get back on a lot. Game 7 was brutal, a little brutal, but the rest of the series, he was able to get back a lot, made some nice blocks. Nice.
Listen, he exceeded every expectation I had.
Yeah, for not having any real lateral movement, and I'm sure he was in tons of pain.
Yeah, he sat. You wish he could have played longer just because the whole team around him sucks. But he gave you strong minutes. He went a whole Game 7, didn't miss a single game. I was very impressed. I take nothing away from him. He was dominant when you needed him, and he did everything in his power. Him and Seth Curry are about the only two players that I actually still want to see in a Sixers uniform on this team.
Yeah, I really like Seth. I love Embiid. He's my favorite Sixer on the team right now. And I've liked Matisse since he was a rookie. I love defensive. Well, not all defensive players. But I really like Matisse, and I think if he keeps working on his shots, because you can see he was pulling off for a couple of threes, and he was. I don't know what his percentage was, but he was making a couple of them. I like Maxey. However, I feel like
he's still a ways away from even being offensively and eligible to be out on the floor as a starter. Yeah, he's still not there yet, but you shouldn't have to rely on him, to be honest.
No, and that's 4 players. I mean, I like Dwight as a serviceable backup, but the one I have an issue with is Mr. Benjamin Simmons, and I think it's an issue a lot of people are having. And we, vented our frustrations while watching the game together and with some friends, and it's just. And I had a friend. She was at the game, and she said, there were chants that were "fuck Ben Simmons." And then there were chants that said trade Ben Simmons. And if the fans are getting that loud to everyone can understand what's being said in a phrase like that, it's bad. And it's true. This has been the process. He was once looked at to be potentially the next LeBron. I mean, that was obviously a far stretch in the first place, but he was supposed to be a really good player because he was a physically gifted athlete. Strong, had some speed, and obviously everyone knew about his defense. And now my favorite stat, and it's my favorite for the worst reason, he shot 3 for 3 in the fourth quarter of all 7 games combined. He took 3 fucking shots.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't take a shot in the fourth quarter in the last 4 games.
Yeah, no, but 7 fourth quarters, he only took 3 shots. No one thinks that's Doc Rivers isn't looking like Ben, maybe if you shot the ball a little more, teams would have to know that oh, wow, we should guard this guy. Otherwise, he's just going to pass it out every time. Like when he had a clear path underneath the basket to go in for a dunk or a layup. He's like, let me pass the thigh ball. And then he gets fouled and only makes 1 of 2 free throws. Why? Why is he so scared of the basket?
Yeah, he's a mental lunatic. I don't know, like where I was thinking about this, like where do I start with Ben? He's given me so many things to start. You obviously touched on the hasn't shot a shot in the last 4 games in the fourth quarter, which is unacceptable. Just I don't even understand how you can be out there and not shoot in that many minutes. We could talk about the fact that 4 of the 7 games in this series, he scored single digits. I feel like a role player on any team could go out there and give you at least 10 points, like more than 3 out of 7 games. Like, come on. What about, do you want to go off the big one? The worst free throw percentage in NBA playoff history.
Oh, was
He's the worst. I forget the number off the top of my head, like 33 or something, just god awfully disgusting. I don't understand. This guy is not. See, the problem with Ben, and I'll be the first one to admit it, I was always a supporter of Ben. I always thought, you know what, this team can win with Ben. But this series turned because now it was always how good the Sixers could be if Ben ever got a shot down. It was just how good we could be, what the ceiling could be. But now it's no longer what we could be. It is what he's holding us back from. He is a detriment to this team. He is no longer a positive player for this team. The Hack-a-Simmons is an embarrassment to the Sixers. This whole organization should be embarrassed that they pay this guy this amount of money and he goes out there. He is intentionally getting hacked, intentionally being put on the free throw line in playoff games. This is the intentional game plan for playoff games. They're just intentionally putting this guy on the line because they know he sucks.
Yep.
Then the other part is he's useless. He lost all aggressive nature. And when he's not aggressive, if he's not driving or dunking or being physical, he's awful. He's useless. He literally wasted space out there. If he's not driving and dunking, that's all his game is. That's it. And if he's not doing that, you really aren't doing anything. He's a complete liability in the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter. The dunk was just an embarrassment. I mean, when you want to talk about just completely just mentally not there, like just a head case, just look at that play. Look at the dunk that he just didn't want. His whole game is presided on dunks, and he had one in the most crucial time and just ignored it. I can't even begin to fathom where I am with Ben Simmons. And you know what? Like I said before, it was more about what he could be and what the Sixers could be if he ever got the shot. And then now he's never gotten it. And now it is caught up to us. This is the moment where now Ben Simmons is hurting your team. And this is the moment where you move on from him. Because I don't want to hear Doc Rivers tell me, oh, they have a whole offseason plan. I don't know if you saw this today. Did you see? I had a little chuckle. Did you see that Ben Simmons is going to try shooting with his other hand? Because, his whole life he's shot with his dominant hand. It's got him nowhere.
That's what I don't like. I just don't. Players like Shaq, you understand, big dude, meant to play defense and aggressive ball under the rim. Ben Simmons is should be an athletic monster. How the fuck do you not know how to shoot a basket? I can shoot better free throws than you can shoot better free throws than Ben. It doesn't make sense. 4 of 14, 3 of 10? Make sense.
Those are actual free throw shooting.
You know how much
percentage for him?
Poor Markelle Fultz. You know how much shit he got because he couldn't figure out his shot? And we just let Ben Simmons ride this shit for 4 years?
Well, I see where you're coming from, but we're not doing any poor Markelle Fultz. He is dead to me too.
Now, I will say the only way Ben could have gotten out of this whole mess of his career so far is if they had drafted Jason Tatum. And then you wouldn't have to worry about Ben not shooting the ball because he would only be asked to, because he would be the point guard. He's, getting all his assists up, getting all his rebounds up. Good for maybe 8-10 points a game. That'd be fine. But not in this offense when Tobias is forced to take, second star shots and is missing half his too. And he's not going anywhere because this contract's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, he's not dodging the bullet either. He was terrible.
I was,
terrible.
I thought he had a great year, and then playoffs, he was just very up and down. And then when we needed him most, he couldn't perform.
when you factor in, Embiid is a star. I'm not taking anything away from Embiid.
Oh.
He put up 31 in Game 7, was playing on a torn meniscus. And you have two max contract guys. These aren't just scrubs running around with, Joel Embiid. Let's put it this way. Trae Young had a bad game in Game 7. I want to say he was, let me see, I got to put it up. 5 for 23 from the floor for Trae Young. Had 21 points, 2 from 11 from three-point line. If I told you those stats before Game 7 started, you would have thought we won by 30.
He's a streaky shooter, yeah.
But you know what? Kevin Huerter, of all people, put up 27 points. Because you know what? When your superstar needs someone, Kevin Huerter showed up. Our max contract guys, Tobias and Ben Simmons, didn't show up. Tobias went 8 for 24. That is unacceptable
the amount
in a
of
Game 7
layups,
game like that.
The amount of layups I saw Tobias not finished. I'm like, I get that there's like a little bit of contact under the rim, but you got to get that in.
Listen, with Tobias, I agree with you there. Those moments you got to score. I was watching the Bucks Game 7 against the Nets, and Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday were terrible. They were awful that entire game. They were brutal. I was like, damn, man, if they lose this game, the reporters and everyone and their grandmother are going to kill Chris Middleton. He's not the second star that Giannis needs to win a championship, and they're going to rip them apart about the Drew Holiday trade because these guys are playing awful. But as that game went on, Giannis kept him in the game. He had a very good game, and like your superstar is supposed to, he kept him in the game, and then the guys around him filled in their spots. Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday both made huge buckets at the end of that game. Both of them had terrible shooting lines and didn't have great games, but they made the crucial buckets they needed to win that game. Yeah. They still should have lost that game if Kevin Durant's foot isn't, the size of a mailbox. They do, but you know what? In that moment, they came up in their big spot. Tobias Harris had so many moments and came up small in every single one of them. Ben Simmons couldn't even get a damn moment, let alone fucking capitalize on it. It's brutal. And my last point with Simmons, because, we're a couple days past Sunday and I've turned a leaf. I haven't been as depressed and angry as I have the other couple days. Ben Simmons, the problem with him is he's been like this for the last 4 years. There has been not even a slight improvement. It's not like his free throw percentage went from like 30% to like 40% to 50%. Like the bar isn't set very high for him, but he's not improving. He's just plateauing as the terrible, inept offensive basketball player that he is. And now you're at the point where teams are just going to exploit it, and he's killing you. Because that's why just trade him. I don't want to hear anything about him fixing his shot or, him understanding he needs to do this and that. Just trade him. I've seen him do absolutely nothing in 4 years. This guy can't be talked to, can't get through to. He doesn't seem to care, so move on from him. I don't care what it is. Just get him off the team.
Yeah, and then I remember when when the Sixers fired Brett Brown before they hired Doc, it was, a lot of trade rumors about, they can't possibly keep these two together. Who's going to get traded, Embiid or Ben? Who the fuck? Can you imagine if Embiid got traded and we had just Ben Simmons was our number one star?
Oh no, that
score. We averaged like 60 points a game.
It's the Ben, like and
I hate ripping Ben because I do like him. It's just the offense. You cannot win a championship with that kind of offense.
He's a liability. It's not that he's not scoring or making plays for you. He's just a liability, man. The hack of Simmons thing works so well. That's why they were winning these games, because they're hacking this guy and he's just wasting possessions. It's just, I was fine with riding it out. You obviously know, and I appreciate it. I was a big Brett Brown hater, and I still think he was a terrible coach.
I like them.
But I was adamant about, you know what? Bring in Doc Rivers. It's a new coach. Get someone that isn't Brett Brown to see what he can do with this core, because they got talent. And even when James Harden was on the market, I was like, you know what? We're doing pretty well. I like how this team looks. I don't really want to blow it up to bring in Harden and see, ride it out. We've passed that point. We let a new coach see what he can do. We've seen him in the playoffs ruin this team. We've given him 4 years to develop a shot or a free throw or anything. He doesn't even have a post game. That's what really drives me nuts. Is he's useless because he can't even make a post. Like, he's got no post moves.
Yeah.
Joe Embiid's over there crisscrossing, breaking ankles, slip, slide, and fade away, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Ben Simmons is either I'm going to run it over you, or you're just going to let me dunk on you. That's his game, and that's it. And it's so easy to stop, and he doesn't evolve. It's the same game for the last 4 years. Nothing has evolved on him.
That's the only saving grace I have of the Sixers getting eliminated is that these conversations are hopefully being held within the Sixers team about can we actually win a championship with this team? Like, do we need to make changes? because I I still will stand by. I believe if Joel never had the torn meniscus and Danny Green was never injured, and granted, there's always going to be injuries and shit happens in playoffs. Not making excuses, but I'm just saying if those two players are fully healthy, I think they would have beaten the Hawks in 5.
Yeah,
Not even a second thought.
My problem with that is, well, two things. First off, I'm not going to get the meniscus for Embiid or anything because the guy literally was out there averaging 30 points. So I mean, how much better could he possibly have done? He looked really great and he looked awesome. No shame there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he played that well, he would have been playing even better. Especially because look at how it killed him in the end of the games. He was just not. He would not shoot well in the fourth quarter. He was too gassed. He was too beat down.
Fair enough. My other point is Danny Green getting hurt should not matter because you have Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons max contract guys. You should say if Tobias Harris or Ben Simmons gets hurt, that ruins our playoff run. Danny Green should not be hurting us as bad as he did, and it did hurt us because Furkan.
I mean, he's a starter.
Didn't do much. Yeah, but you know what? Your other guys, Danny Green isn't your main guy. He's not even one of your 3 main guys. No. If you still have your main guys, you should be able to win.
I agree.
And the problem is you have a fraud as a main guy. He's a main guy on defense. He's useless on offense. He's actually a detriment on offense. And then you just have Tobias is a tough one because, man, he just comes up small in the big moments. And he's a volume shooter and scorer. And if he's not on, he's not on. And a lot of these big moments when you needed him, he was off. He had some good moments here and there, but when you needed him, he let you down every time. And that's a problem because, Ben's not doing anything for you. So there's more unnecessary burden on Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid and the rest of the team because their point guard is useless on offense, which is just unheard of.
It would have been nice. And I mean, I don't know what the likelihood of this happening anyways would have been, but if we had fired Brett Brown when they lost to the Raptors, and then Jimmy decided to stay instead, because I know Brett Brown was a big reason why he didn't want to stay in Philly, but I heard he also actually just really wanted to go to Miami.
Yeah, I think he was just mindset was going to Miami. Yeah, I think he was pretty. I mean, do you fault the guy? He got to be the guy, which he never was going to do in Philly with Embiid there, and now he gets to live in Miami on a max contract.
Yeah. But I think him assuming Tobias would have walked because they weren't going to pay him and Jimmy, him, Ben, and Joel, I think they probably could have won this series. But
I just want to point this out. The last 2 losses, so game 5.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Jimmy would have played with some fucking heart in that game 7.
Oh God, yeah, he would have clocked Ben Simmons at half court too after he missed that, after he passed up that dunk. But your last 2 losses in that series, game 7 and game 5, Tobias Harris, 33% from the field in game 7, 8 of 24. And game 5, he was 2 from 11, 18% from the floor. That's just your guy, coming up small and those bone crushing losses. And it's a shame because you know what? And the problem is if he's not on, you're out of options because you need a second option. And if he's not on, Seth Curry, I think, has overachieved everyone's highest expectations throughout the season and the postseason. But you can't rely on Seth Curry being your number 2 guy. Like, he's a great shooter and he can pop threes, but he's limited on offense. He's not going to be, putting out the moves, driving. He's more of a catch it and shoot kind of guy. And he's very good at that. Yeah. Your 2 guys that need to make plays and get buckets are Tobias Harris, who came up very small in big moments, and Ben Simmons, who has there's high school players that are more efficient on offense than he is. Yeah, it's just sad. And you know what? This is the point. I think we can officially, when Ben gets traded, which he will, there's no possible way this team can bring back Ben Simmons.
It wouldn't shock me if he's still on the team.
There can't be. I think this is worse than the Wentz situation, and I didn't think there was any way Wentz could possibly come back. This is when Simmons gets shipped off, this will be the end of the process. You would have seen the best team we got out of the process was the Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris team that lost to the Raptors. So you had half a season of your highest, quality team, and your wasted draft picks will be Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, and the process will end out to be will be Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. And that's what the whole process was for. You lost all those years in a row for ultimately what's going to be Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid. And that's just, I think the Sixers just warned the NBA the idiotic thinking that the process was going to work.
Yeah, it did not, because like we saw with teams like the Suns and even the Hawks, how quickly you can turn a franchise around without tanking. But
we've gone through, I think, more general managers and presidents of operations, or whatever you want to call it, than we've had successful draft picks in the process era.
yeah, I mean, originally the process was the starting of a super team formation, and it started with Joel, and now the process has kind of become Joel, and then how we're going to support Joel. So he is the process. So I wouldn't say the process is over, but the process so far has been a fail, so to speak.
Yeah, I just,
because Fultz gone, Ben probably should be gone because he
has to go. At this, it's no longer what he could be or what he's holding us back from. He's hurting us. He's hurting us out there. And now everyone has the script, although everyone knew he was a terrible shooter anyway. But the Hawks just showed the whole league, you can literally hack a Simmons and just leave him wide open on the 3-point line, or God, from the mid-range. He's useless if he's not in front of the net.
Yeah.
It's pitiful. And it was one of the most disgusting performances I've seen from an individual player in a series. I just terrible.
I will say, on our final Sixers note, two things. For one, the first thing is, I was hearing the other day rumors that, well, first of all, Ben's trade value is plummeted,
which everyone knows.
And the fact that we could have gotten Harden with trading him is, I don't want to get into that. But I heard a lot of CJ McCollum for Ben, like straight up trades, which at this point I wouldn't be upset with that.
I would take CJ McCollum easily over Ben.
But would you, because I said this in the heat of the moment, and I'm still kind of leaning towards it. The Portland Trailblazers fired their head coach, and a lot of players are upset with their roles in the team right now, so they might blow it up, rebuild. Dame probably will stay there, but if Dame is available, would you aside from Joel, would you trade whatever it takes to get Damian Lillard to the Sixers?
I mean, I wouldn't say whatever it takes.
If they're like, we want Ben, Maxey, Tyrese, and like 3 first-round picks or something. I don't know.
I'd probably say no. That's a little excessive. I mean, you're talking about. Listen, I just killed Ben, and I'm not going to act like he's a good player, but he's still a first team all defense, and then Tyball's a second team all defense.
Won Rookie of the Year too, didn't he?
Yeah. So I mean, that was a long time ago. Yeah. But the problem with that is the Sixers are also. I think we also learned, and one thing I will kill Doc over is, we just refused to shorten our bench, and we're not a very deep team. Maxey exceeded all expectations you could have held. Even Shake was great for a little bit, but then he came back to work. Player. Yeah, but I mean, your team's not. I hate to say it, but I don't think this team is one player away. Like I still, if you brought in Dame Lillard and gave up what you're saying he gave up, I think we're competitive. But you know what? I think the Nets are gonna be a lot better next year, and I still think we'd probably run into problems with the Bucks.
I mean, I think a team of, I would assume it would be Joel, Damian Lillard, Seth Curry, Tobias. I would say Danny Green's gone.
Probably Furkan.
No, I'd rather start Maxey than Furkan. Or
you just traded him away.
Or not Maxey, I'm Thibault.
You also just traded him away.
You just said we're not getting rid of both of them. All right, well, whatever. Whoever they have to throw in. That's a good lineup.
Yeah,
I think the combo of Joel and Dame could be terrifying because Dame can shoot anywhere on the court, and he can drive in because he's small and quick. Joel is big and agile, can shoot from practically anywhere on the field too. So
I would, if you could do the trade and keep Tyball out of it, because I think Tyball would take on a bigger role. I'd
rather keep Tyball than Maxey.
Well, because Simmons is just a defender. That's literally all he is, because he's useless on offense. Tyball is also just a defender. So in that, if you ship off Simmons, then Tyball kind of takes that defender role in the backcourt, which you'll need. And if you tell me you get Damian Lillard or someone that can score, and then you add or then you promote Tyball into the Ben Simmons role of just super defender with nothing on offense, that's a win.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, obviously, all the names are going to focus on Portland right now, but we don't know what Portland's going to do. I could see Portland bringing in a new coach and giving it one more go before they blow it all up. But we'll see. You know, the coach hire I think will tell you a lot of what Portland's thinking.
Yeah, but beyond the Sixers, there are 4 other NBA teams still alive. Like
can we just take a moment and just the Atlanta Hawks, Milwaukee Bucks, Phoenix Suns, and LA Clippers are the final 4 teams. Yeah. You're talking about 3 franchises that never won a title. And then I think the Bucks are the last one to win a title in like 71.
The 70s, yeah.
You want to talk about a year I know we mentioned this too with the Sixers. This was the year. This was the year that
it couldn't have been easier for them.
I'm convinced that they would have won the championship the year the Raptors beat us. Just, you know, if Durant and Thompson both get hurt and we go to the Bucks.
Yeah.
But this was the year. You know, Brooklyn is about to be very good. Give them an offseason to bring in some ring chasers and give them some time to gel with those 3 players. Milwaukee's still looking pretty solid. You know, for all, I think Mike Budenholzer, even if he wins the finals, should probably get fired for the disgraceful coaching he's done so far. But, you know, Kevin Durant's mailbox-sized foot kept him in his job. But Atlanta, that's a young team that's on the rise. I don't think Miami's going to go away. I think that, you know, they just had a tough turnaround on a long season in the bubble and then, you know, the quick turnaround this year. So I think the East is going to keep getting better. And for the Sixers, you have a lot of question marks. Obviously, they start with Ben, but, you know, you're locked in that Tobias deal. And I know Ben is the biggest scapegoat here, but Tobias played terribly for you.
He was definitely inconsistent.
8 for 24 is unacceptable.
Yeah, but we're done with the Sixers. So Tim stole my thunder. I was gonna give that spiel, but yeah, you're right. They're, I mean, the Suns and the Clippers were playing as we are recording this. Have never even been to a Western Conference Finals, so this is they lost their virginity. Both of them.
It's the wide open year that the Sixers could have won when the Western Conference Finals featuring the Suns and the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard and Chris Paul aren't even playing.
Yeah, it's always funny. It's like looking at that and it's like the NBA execs are probably like rolling right now because it's all small market teams. They wanted the Brooklyn, they wanted the Philly, they wanted, you know, LA. I mean the Clippers, but the Lakers are the bigger market, not the Clippers. So yeah, I mean outside of LA, who's, you know, Milwaukee's a super small market.
Well, so outside of LA, which is a big market, and, you know, they immediately became contenders when they signed Kawhi Leonard and Paul George at the same time. So that kind of revamped their whole buildup. But you look at the other teams, like here's Philly, who purposely lost, you know, whatever amount of years in a row to get as many draft picks as they could. And they're a huge market that should have no issue bringing in free agents. And they're eliminated. And you have teams like the Suns, who drafted a guy in the middle of the first round, Devin Booker, who developed into a stud. And trust me, the Suns are an inept run organization, or have been an inept organization for a very long time. You have the Hawks, who, you know, didn't need a number 1 overall pick. I think, well, they did the trade with Lucas, so I think Trey was ultimately a 5th overall pick or whatever, depending on, you know, whatever the pick was. But it's a young team they built with young guys that they drafted and developed. Then you have Milwaukee, same idea. Giannis was a mid-first round pick. I don't even know where Middleton was drafted. And then, you know, they made smart moves to bring in smart guys. They brought in Brock Lopez and he reinvented himself. They made some wise trades and got PJ Tucker. I mean, I think they gave a little too much for Drew Holiday, but, you know, Drew Holiday's still winning them games. He's making big shots for them. So you can't kill them. They're still winning. And I don't know. The Sixers, I don't get it. Is it Philly or what is it? Why do we have, in the last 3 years, the biggest mental head cases I've seen in sports between Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, and Carson Wentz? They all just forgot how to play their sport that they played for the last, you know, their entire life. And just, you know, like they lost their confidence, they lost their swagger, they lost how their knowledge of the game. Like what is it in Philly now? Like, are we really that bad? Because why can't we develop guys? We just destroy them. We take incredible prospects and destroy them.
We're pretty bad.
But is it too much? I've suffered to Ben Simmons for the last 4 years, even though he can't shoot. The first rule that was probably invented when they made the game of basketball was shooting it into a damn peach basket. And I suffered through 4 years with this guy. I gave him a max contract, and now he's acting like he's got no confidence and his mental health is out the window and all this shit. Like, I thought I was being accepting. I said I didn't want to trade him for James Harden. Maybe I'm the one with mental issues. I even, you know what? I was like, oh, the Sixers making a good move. I'm glad they're aggressive. They're getting their guy when they trade up to get Fultz. Like, what? I just don't understand how these things keep happening. It's dumbfounding. And
thank God the Eagles won the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
Oh, God, I'd be in a dark place.
4 years ago.
It's
4 years ago.
I know. I'd be in a very dark place if they didn't.
Oh, we all would be. Because that would have been since 2008 when the Phillies won. And then before that, it's like the fucking 80s.
Oh, my God. Since that Super Bowl, the pain that we've suffered through. I mean, the Eagles just in a nutshell has just been painful.
We might have to start doing soccer because the Union are like the only good Philly team left.
It's true. I caught a little bit of that Union game when they were playing Atlanta on Sunday. I mean, they didn't win, but they tied, and the guy had a freaking sniper rifle from I don't even know how far it was, but it was impressive.
Yeah,
Goalie missed it, but if he tried stopping that, I think he'd be decapitated.
My Union knowledge is not very great, but I do know that Blake, the goalie, is arguably the best goalie in the MLS. So
Andre Blake, yeah, he's big. That was my quarantine sport. I got in the we're in the semifinals for the Concacaf. Big time.
Yeah, we got fun. You know, now that you mentioned it, I'll probably, I don't know if you're into the Olympics, but I'll probably talk about Olympics when it starts in July.
Oh, I'm a big Olympic fan. And let's be honest, at this point where we're at.
What else? Yeah, we got NFL top 10 and then we'll do Olympics because I don't fuck about the NBA finals anymore. The Flyers aren't in the cup, so.
Oh, I hate hockey and basketball at this point after what these embarrassment Philadelphia teams have done.
The Eagles pretty biased fans if we're not going to watch other sports teams, but
I don't care. I don't. Do you think I want to see that stupid, use the lollipop falling behind a couch haircut in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I can't stand. Not to keep talking about this stupid series, but some of the players I do like John Collins, while he's small and like acts a lot bigger than he is, like I do like him. I think he'll keep developing to a solid starter, but I just cannot stand Trae Young. I don't like him at all. He should have gotten a tech when he did his fucking push-ups on the ground. It's like, buddy, and I hope they figure out a way to stop his bullshit fouls. Like the amount of times he wasn't even trying to score. Like he would just throw his body into the defender and pray he got the foul call. So I mean, and that I'm glad we're done watching that series because that was the worst officiating I've ever watched.
Oh, that was terrible. That was an awful. Game 7 was horrific. There's actually been some horrific officiating throughout the playoffs.
Granted, Hawks deserve the series. Sixers played like poo-poo, but my God, the refs were horrible.
Oh, they were terrible.
So many calls against the Sixers where like Embiid clearly gets fouled or Tobias is like on the ground and they're like, no foul, no. And then Trae Young just gets like tickled and they're like, oh, that's a flagrant one right there.
Yeah, I think overall the officiating in the playoffs have been pretty brutal. It's not just in the Sixers series. I've seen a couple of series and it's just consistently it's looked really bad.
Yeah, and even the broadcasting wasn't like TNT was riding the Hawks. Like
honestly, I don't blame them. Everyone
likes
the underdog.
The one just bothered me because it was like they're like, oh, here goes Joel barking at the refs again, and then like the next like minute, it's like Trae Young yelling at the refs for like even worse shit. And they're like, oh, he's such a passionate young leader. I was like, shut the fuck up. He's doing the same thing Joel did. He's just a crybaby.
To be fair,
all the NBA players are all actors nowadays. I've never seen so much flopping since soccer. Like it's ridiculous.
To be fair, TNT and Turner, the company, are based in Atlanta, so I can see how that would have came about. But listen, if it wasn't the Sixers versus the Hawks, I would have rooted for the Hawks again. If you tell me they're an obscure
Philly,
well, they're an obscure underdog. Like Atlanta Hawks are hardly a powerhouse. With a young team, they were like the 5th seed. They're going against the number 1 seed. They've embarrassed themselves. The Sixers. They came back twice down by 20 points.
Yeah,
and the Sixers are very easily a hateable team. If Embiid wasn't on my team, I probably would hate him.
Yeah, probably.
Simmons, I can't imagine anyone rooting for Ben Simmons as a player. Like he's just infuriating to watch. He's a smug, cocky guy who thinks, I can become an excellent NBA player without shooting the ball. You got to be out of your mind, bro.
All right. Final thoughts on no more Sixers talk. The final thoughts on the rest of the NBA Finals, and what do you think the results will be?
Well, I think the Bucks are going to steamroll the Hawks. To be honest with you, I'll give the Hawks all the credit. They won. They beat us. They were the better team in that series. I still don't really think the Hawks are that great of a team.
I'll give it two extremes. I think I agree with you. Either the Bucks sweep them, or for some reason this is going to go 7 games. I feel like it's going to be one of the two extremes.
If they go 7, then Budenholzer has to be fired before the finals, regardless of how that works.
How we were saying it's the Sixers like handed championship year. Now it's the Bucks' best chance to win a championship.
Absolutely.
Because the East is going to have to go through Brooklyn from now on. So Giannis and crew and Joel and crew are now in deep water because Nets are going to be healthy. They'll add more pieces and
I like the Bucks team the way it is now. I mean, I gave Giannis a little bit of crap in the beginning of that series because he had the same problems as Ben Simmons. He couldn't make a damn free throw, and his game is very similar. He just puts his head down and drives.
Yeah, but he scores.
Well, yeah. He's improved. I thought he looked really good in Game 7. I would still like to see him just dominate defensively. Like he just refuses to cover the best guy for some reason. I don't understand. But you know what? They're a veteran, deep team. I thought Bobby Portis was a great pickup for them. He didn't even see the floor. I think he's got a lot of a skill set that he can bring to the table, especially in playoff games. But you got Drew, you got Middleton, who even when they're rough, they can make big shots. Brock Lopez is a solid contributor. Also, I like who they match up against. Like the Hawks have literally no one that can stop Giannis or even slow him down. Yeah. They have a lot more size on the Hawks. And in the West, Ayton would maybe be could maybe hang with him because he's a bigger body and could play down low and, play a little defense. But I think the Bucks have this set up for them. I think the Bucks smack the Hawks. I'm going to take, and this all depends on Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi Leonard plays, I still am going to ride with the Clippers. But if he doesn't come back in this series, I think Phoenix is going to win. And, Phoenix and the Bucks, I'll take the Milwaukee.
Okay. I'm thinking about it now. And when we did our predictions, I didn't have any of these 4 teams still alive.
Well, I had the Clippers in the West. I had the Clippers coming out of the West.
I had Jazz, Lakers, and Brooklyn and Philly. Yeah. So wow.
You just went all the big names.
I mean, yeah. I was surprised the Jazz lost in 6. And they won they won the first 2 and then the Clippers won the next 4.
To be fair, the exact problem I said that the Jazz have was what screwed them over. They had no one to cover the wing. So, actually that, and they just exposed Rudy Gobert for exactly what we talked about when we talked about defense player of the years. And his Rudy Gobert is an elite, one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. But outside of that, he's not doing anything for you on defense. And you go small, someone will always be open on that 3-point line because Rudy Gobert is not coming out of that painted area.
That's what I'm saying, man. Somebody in that Clippers organization listens to Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks, and they're like, we got to make these adjustments. We got to PG. You got to step your game up.
Listen, I hate to get back to the Sixers, but I've looked forward to this all week because this is my therapy session where I get everything off my chest.
I'm not looking forward.
Ty Lue, who took over for Doc Rivers, and I think Doc even mentioned on his way out that Ty Lue's right next to me when we made all these decisions. I expect blah 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 blah. Ty Lue made an incredible adjustment to go all small without his best player on the floor, without Kawhi even in the series. He made the adjustment to go all small and just brutalize Rudy Gobert and just embarrass him because Gobert doesn't leave the paint and he just beat him with it. Yeah. Terrence Mann is a good young player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's a 37-point in the playoffs kind of guy. I think that Ty Lue just put him in wide open situations and he made him. Pat Beverly was making threes. When they're wide open like that, eventually they're going to hit them.
Yeah.
So all credit to Ty Lue. That was a very good coaching adjustment. Who doesn't make adjustments, who I think we roasted everyone on the Sixers besides. I didn't see a single adjustment made by Doc Rivers. The only adjustment I saw made was taking Danny Green off Trae Young. And the only reason he did that was because Danny Green got hurt.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see a little more creativity, a little more adjustments from Doc. I didn't see it. I thought the coaching was a little lackluster. I mean, I'm not going to kill him. I think the players lost this one more than Doc did, but I can't say I'm thrilled with how Doc handled the whole thing. And he's got a reputation for coming up short in the playoffs, and I don't think this helped.
Yeah, that was a concern of mine, but I mean, yeah, disappointing for sure. I'm not putting all the blame on Doc. I think a lot of it has to go with Ben and Tobias just not performing.
Oh yeah, no, the players
But
lost.
yeah, I agree. The bench. I mean, here's the thing though. The bench has definitely gotten better because I mean, it's not a good bench, I would say, but it's better because you didn't have Mike Scott playing, 20 minutes a game. But
yeah,
I didn't think he suited up in the Hawk series. But yeah, I would have liked to see, like, I didn't like George Hill being out there with like 6 minutes to go and stuff like that. And it's
talk about a wasted trade. Jeez, I'm applauding the Bucks for bringing in PJ Tucker and Bobby Portis. We bring in George Hill and he does absolutely nothing for us.
No, but the problem with George Hill was he had a thumb surgery, and apparently I was reading the other day, like he never was getting like fully healed yet, so he was just playing with a bum thumb like the whole time.
The guy missed like 2 months when we first got him. Why didn't he just sit out longer if he wasn't 100% healthy?
I don't know.
Don't make excuses for him. He was terrible. He was useless in this series. Honestly, I don't even know what we gave up.
Terrible, but he definitely was not good.
George Hill in a Sixers uniform will be looked at as a terrible player. This is the end of his Sixers career. He was horrific in this jersey. I equated him to the Golden Tate trade for the Eagles. I thought he was going to be like that kind of trade. Obviously, the Golden Tate trade wasn't really a success. It was kind of a lackluster performance. But you know what? Golden Tate caught that touchdown in the playoffs. George Hill did absolutely nothing for you.
He made a couple threes.
Maybe two in the entire series.
A couple turnovers.
Yeah, lots of turnovers.
Yeah, that needs to get short up. This team still makes too many turnovers.
Yeah, listen, you want to talk about the
No more Sixers. We're done. Now let me give me my finals predictions because you keep going back to the Sixers. I'll take the Bucks. I don't know how many. Like I said, excuse me. They're either going to sweep the Hawks or it's going to go 7. But Bucks to the finals, and I like the Suns. They're playing hot because Phoenix Suns. They'll probably take care of the Clippers in 6, I think, especially if Kawhi doesn't play at all. Even though Paul George has been playing pretty damn well lately.
He is playing pretty well at this moment. Live and all. There's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Suns are up by 5 points.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'll go 6, maybe 5. But Suns, Bucks in the finals, and I think I don't know. That should be actually kind of fun. I think the Suns actually have a surprising amount of firepower, but I think this is the only chance Giannis is really, really gonna have, unless he rebounds again and has the team has a good season again. But I'll take Bucks in 6 over the Suns in the finals.
So, listen, I'll be the first one to admit I've been sleeping on the Suns, and I was very low on them.
Everyone was.
Yeah. I still think the Bucks are the favorite to win this, and maybe I'm just underselling the Suns more, but unless Kawhi Leonard makes a comeback and plays in the series, I would take the Bucks. Pending Kawhi Leonard coming back, then maybe I lean to the Clippers.
If the Suns sweep the Clippers, though, then I'll take the Suns over the Bucks because that's a statement. But
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that wraps it up. We didn't want to go too long into this, but yeah, Sixers once again disappoint. My favorite comment from the Sixers playoff run was someone commented on one of the Sixers Instagram posts and said, I hope the Sixers can bury me when I die so that I can be they can let me down one more time. So
yeah, this is definitely one of the more painful playoff losses I can remember in my life.
Yeah.
It hurts, but here we are. We'll see what happens.
Spain without the S. Nothing but pain.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what that means. It's on to football time. So, like I said a little earlier in this episode, look forward to our top 10 player series. We'll be making a grand return very soon, hopefully. It's if you are interested in being a guest or you are a previous guest, please message us now to secure your spot. get a lottery ticket, or what are those called when you go to the deli and you get those tickets? Are they just called tickets?
I can't think of another word besides tickets for that. Yeah.
Grab your tickets now. No, but yeah, if you're interested, just DM us, reach out. But yeah, that and then the Olympics, so it'll be fun. And then we'll talk about the finals and the cup when the last 2 teams are there. But until then,
we'll just live in disappointment.
We always do. We're Philly fans. We were born with disappointment.
I know. It's sad. But
alrighty.
Oh well. I'll talk to you.
All right. Have a good week, everyone.